Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to Knife AQ episode 130. This is the knife series where I get to answer all of your questions, whether they're sharp or dull. This week, we're taking a look at some feedback from our latest Beat the Icon video and thinking about what is the best butterfly knife to use as an actual EDC knife. Let's get into it. All right, for those of you new to this series, here's the deal. We answer your questions. Kind of alluded to that at the top of the video here, but if you have a question and you want it to be considered for inclusion in a future episode, just drop it in the comment section down below this video. We'll comb through, pick a few good ones out for the next one. First question today comes from the KJ Malice. Hey, DCA and folks, I have a question for you. Then you've come to the right place.
That's what you do.
I'm a big fan of the Benchmade 51 Morpho and carried one at work for about 10 years. But that specific knife has been retired as the blade has gotten smaller and smaller with subsequent sharpenings. I'd love to get a new one, but they are sadly discontinued. I will agree heartily on the sadly part there. So until the day that Benchmade brings it back in a new steel and handle config, do you know of any other Bally's with pocket clips and everyday carry use in mind? If so, thanks. I'm right there with you on the Morpho being a great everyday carry choice. I actually picked one up myself for the exact same kind of scenario or exact same uses. I haven't really done much actual carrying of it for various reasons, but when I knew it was going away, I knew I wanted to have one in the collection to keep on hand for that sort of thing. It is a great little shape. The D2 steel here is plenty capable. Nothing setting the world on fire, certainly, but the blade shape is really nice. It carries really easily, partly due to the weight and partly due to that excellent pocket clip right there too. And I'm very sad that you can't use yours anymore because it's been used up so much, but that's actually kind of cool too. Like, how many of us knife people truly use up a knife these days? We've bought so many new knives in the interim that, that old sharpened toothpick is a thing of the past in a way. So that's really cool. I'm envious of you in that regard, actually. Sadly, it is out of production. I hope they bring it back in something like crew wear or something. That would make sense to me anyway, because they took the Adamas off the market, which was using D2 steel, and brought it back in crew wear. I don't know anything, however. This is just me kind of wishful thinking here. The first thing I would check out as a possible alternative is a little bit smaller and a little bit less, archetypal butterfly, but it is the same form factor. That's the Spyderco Small Fly 2. Talk about a blade here that's going to last way longer than the narrow profile that most butterflies typically come with. About $231 for this crew wear version right here. So that's pretty cool. So as long as you're not too concerned about keeping your blade clean, because this is not a stainless steel, great toughness, great edge retention right here. Wider handle in the open position, but you aren't going to be able to latch it closed or latch it securely in the open position due to the distance right there. You got a spring-loaded clip. Flips just like any other Bally, but it's definitely a different feel because of the wider handle here, or the flaring handles. 4-position wire pocket clip, so you can set it up whichever way you want. And the other cool thing, like the Morpho, squeeze the handles and the latch pops open. So that is pretty cool too. What I really like about this is the blade itself is something I would carry no matter, it's something that would appeal to me no matter what kind of handle construction was going on here. It's slicey, thick enough to be plenty strong. The steel is great. The geometry works well. And for me, at least, being a little bit shorter, it's more manageable in some situations than a longer Bally blade, which is typically more close to 4 inches, whereas this guy right here is like 3.4, just under that. Great choice here, I think. I think it's a great choice for me. Whether it is for you or not, you be the judge. One other option you could take a look at is a bit unconventional, but that's the Mantis Blade Exchange Balisong. Priced right now at least just under $170. We do have this on sale while we're filming this. 154 cm blades, 4.33 inches long, so quite a big blade. Pocket clip here, as you can see. And this definitely also has a different feel than many Ballys. It feels a little more rattly in a way. The reason for that is you can exchange your blades out of this. You can get them in any one of the 4 standard blades, and you can buy any of these 4 standard blades separate. There is a dagger profile, single-edged, however, it should be mentioned, a Tonto, and a recurved straight spine blade here as well. 154 cm on all of those. That could be an option. Definitely thicker geometry right here. That would kind of hold it back for me. I actually might, if I were going this route, I might consider having these reground to a thinner blade, but you know, your mileage may vary, of course. When it comes to pocket clipped Balis with latches, outside of the custom realm, that's kind of it these days. So there you go. I mean, there is stuff like the BRS Replicant that they do sell pocket clips for, but no latch here. And for something I'm going to be slipping into my pocket, I don't want this kind of potentially opening on me in there. I do have one other, or a separate avenue for you to consider, and that is belt carry. And there's a reason you probably haven't thought of it so far, because typically you think, you know, you're gonna have a big, you know, vertical thing hanging down, and it would get in the way. Possibility, you can check out this option right here. This is a Benchmade sheath, the Balisong butterfly knife nylon sheath, 15 bucks. And it has horizontal carry as an option. And I actually have taken to, you know, horizontal carrying some of my everyday carry implements for many, many years now. Nothing quite this large, but if you can wrap your head around maybe doing this, the possibilities open up significantly. And for here, I've got 2 options to check out. And here I want to focus, what are you going to get in terms of actual blade geometry? That's far more important for your EDC than if you're just flipping things, because at the end of the day, most Balis are designed to be flipped and to kind of enjoy using in that scenario, whereas the actual cutting performance is usually a bit secondary. For a more affordable option, I would check out the Bradley Kimura. Right here, comes with stainless steel handles with G10 overlays on each, several different colors. 154 cm steel, really nice elliptical shape with an efficient flat grind on it. I like the G10 here because it gives you a bit of extra grip, and if you're using this knife as a user, I like what is going on there for sure. And folded up, that is going to fit quite nicely in this here sheath. So that package horizontally along your belt might be good. $123 or so for these knives right here. If you want more edge retention, there are options like the Crewwear Small Fly 2 we looked at earlier, or from Kershaw, the latest edition of their Lucha. We have priced right now at $250, and that comes with 20 CV blade steel. And at that price, this steel is pretty much unmatched by any of the competition in the butterfly knife space, unless you're spending a lot more money on higher end custom type stuff. Lot of edge retention right there. 4.6 inch blade going on. Geometry not quite as good as the Bradley for slicing at least. Definitely not as good as the Small Fly, but not too dissimilar from your, what's the word, Morpho. And also aesthetically very similar to your Morpho. We've got titanium liners and carbon fiber overlays as opposed to G10 overlays on top of carbon fiber on top of titanium on the Morpho. One thing to keep in mind, this is, you know, an even larger blade. The handles here are like a full, just shy of 6 inches. And these don't fit quite as well in this pouch. You only have about, maybe a third of the Velcro making contact there. Maybe not, but I wanted to show it for you because it does look a lot like the Morpho in terms of its vibe. And honestly, for the steel at that price in the Bali world, it is pretty good bargain, I think. At least good value at the very least.
Just go to your local Renaissance fair, find a leather maker, and have them make you.
That is true. Like, there's plenty of folks out there that do make custom sheaths that might be able to come up with a solution you could be interested in. Maybe even a particular type of pocket slip could be useful, with a pocket clip potentially on those. But as far as your pocket clipped latching options, the Mantis and the Spyderco are pretty much all I could find outside of the custom world. Hope that helps. I genuinely do. Benchmade. Give us a Crewware Morpho. I'd buy one. Thomas.
Call it the 52.
Call it the 52 or the 51 CW. I don't know. I'd buy one though, for sure. All right, now we come to our next segment, which we call Measured Once, Cut Twice. Yeah. And we're using this today to take a look at some of your suggestions from our Beat the Icon video on the Benchmade 940 that we did earlier this week. I always like to see, apart from the options I suggested as potential contenders in the fight against the 940, what are some of your folks' ideas? So here we go. First, here we have our Benchmade 940 standard version only today. The Mindful Homestead said something that many folks said actually sort of surprised. The Wharncliffe Deca didn't make it into this video. So here we go. Here's a version of the KnifeCenter exclusive Wharncliffe Deca. And yeah, the blade shapes, there's some similarities going on there, but to me, the Deca is way more of a bug out competitor, and it doesn't have, for me at least, the same kind of elegant feel, the elegant refinement that you do get with the 940. But I could be wrong about that because, like I said, this was a knife that was brought up by several commenters out there. But here's where the comment section comes back. What do you folks think? Getting to the next one, P-Bandit 9924. I always got a similar vibe to the 940 from the Random Leak, a gentlemanly knife that will flat out work hard when asked. Here you go. Yeah, I could kind of see some similarities here. Blade shape, close, not quite the same thing. But you've got the refined elegance of something like the 940. You've got metal handles with a frame lock there. Should be plenty sturdy for some heavier work, even if this to me doesn't have nearly as much kind of handle girth that the 940 will give you. The Leak, of course, is a much slimmer carrying knife in general. Not too bad though, I'd say. It's not the worst suggestion in the world, I'll give it to you. Price on these, let me see, where is that knife? Right now we have it on sale for like 60 bucks, so significantly more affordable, even at full price of like 73 and some change than the 940. Again, what do you folks think? Next up, we have Woodsy 5326. I would argue that on the budget end of knives, the O-Knife Driver could be a contender. Flipper liner lock, not a crossbar, but it still has the thumb studs. Profile and specs are similar. Action's amazing. Steel's N690, which is perfectly adequate. Classy enough to be used as a gentleman's knife while being rugged enough for hard work. This is one where on paper I thought about it. I was like, nah, that doesn't make sense. In hand, makes a little more sense than I initially gave it credit. There you go. Yeah, nice kind of narrowness to it. It's funny, like I think of a sheep's foot, and this style of modified sheep's foot feels a little more ungainly than the 940, but you know what? The first time I saw the 940, I thought it had a pretty ungainly looking blade too. And it has certainly grown on me over time, probably partly due to familiarity, but there you go. That's an interesting one right there. Likewise, kind of like the Deca, a lot of people suggested this knife, and like the O-Knife we just talked about, in my mind, on paper, I said, nah. In person, no. Juke13 says, I think the new Kershaw Iridium is in the same ballpark, even though a different blade shape, similar feel. You know what? I tried to shy mostly away from, more, simpler drop point shapes in that Beat the Icon video, even though a couple did sneak in right at the end. So this one didn't even enter my radar. And again, I thought, nah, no way. But man, in person, there's something here. Both have aluminum handles and the crossbar lock. Length is real similar. You're a little more broad on the Iridium, but this is not the most normal looking drop point in the world, or I'd even call that a spear point, especially with the swedge there at the top. There's some family resemblance between the two, I'd say. Good call, you comment sectioners out there. I would never have picked this one out personally, but you guys, I think you saw something I didn't. Yeah, look at those two blades next to each other, Thomas.
I'm looking.
Makes a bit of sense. You better be looking. You better be pressing record.
It's kind of my job.
Yeah, good on you guys. That one was good. Troy Sperling 1910. The case Kinzu is an honorable mention. I own it and the 940, and they are similar. Same aluminum handle material and blade material similar as well. S35 on the case, S30V on the Benchmade. I had to pick the green one out here, of course. You know, again, this one I never would have thought of, but the faceted aluminum handles kind of pull it into a similar ballpark, and the Tonto, even though it's not a reverse Tonto, quote unquote, like the 940, the reason they went with this blade shape, or Warren Osborne went with this blade shape here, was for a stronger tip, and that's certainly something the Tonto profile is generally known for. So you've got a similar thing there. You know, edge geometry, you're definitely dealing with a thicker blade on the case, so more, you know, more beefy tanky as opposed to thin and slicey. But I like this one too. Yeah. Again, one I was ready to go, nah. I was ready to pull all of these up here and go, nah, you guys are wrong. But I'm seeing what you folks are seeing, man. I like it. I love it. Love my job. And last but not least, Kelly Robinette says, I'm going to throw one out there. The Spyderco Centofonte 3. Very, very interesting one. Interestingly, far more affordable knives than the 940 here. There you go. What does Kelly have to say? It's in my top 5 favorite knives in my collection. Yes, it's a lockback. Yes, it's VG10, but it's a solid, beautifully shaped knife that can give it a little competition. Thoughts? There's something about this that makes a little bit of sense to me too, even though I never would have picked this one for the video. And as a matter of fact, if I were redoing the video, I probably still wouldn't include any of these. I stand by the list, but I don't hate that. You know, we do have injection molded handles here, but look at the texture on them. It doesn't feel cheap. I mean, it really, really doesn't. Cool, man. Yeah, the tip of the blade is more conventional, but you do have the spider hole there, giving it a little bit of flair, and in some ways it doesn't feel too dissimilar to the 940. But that's just me talking. Comment section. Let me know what you thought of these other contenders. Do any of them beat the Icon? Should any of these definitely have been on the list? Tell our suggestioners whether they were right or whether they were wrong. But be nice. Come on. Now we come to our lightning round for today. First question is from the Iron Spike 1982. Hello to DCA and all the channel team. It's just you.
Yeah.
That's some team. Thanks for the videos.
This is the IN team.
Yeah, Thomas is the IN team. That's right. Thanks for the videos and the passion you put into them. Thank you. That's why I do it, because I have fun with these. And I'm a knife guy, so, you know, knife guy's got a knife guy. Question, if I wanted to go camping for a few days, moving my tent, carrying only a small axe and a puko, hope you have some clothes and other gear too, but I gather you're just talking about the tools you plan on bringing. What do you suggest to sharpen quickly without causing damage? Keep in mind that there isn't much space in the backpack and there is a weight limit. Thanks, mates. So for a few days, depending on what you're doing, hopefully you wouldn't have to sharpen at all. So ideally, whatever we're gonna carry, in addition to, you know, yeah, you're hiking and moving, so you want lightweight and low space, the fact that you might not need too much of it furthers that thing. This is a lightning round question, so let's go fast.
Not anymore.
Leather belt, first and foremost, so that you can strop your blades. Some folks go so far as to coat the inside with black compound, so you have a little bit of abrasive quality, but I would go with this DMT style or this DMT brand sharpener right here. This is, where is that tab, dagnabbit? Some of their small diamond whetstones. This is the W7EFC. This is part of a 3-stone kit for about 20 bucks. Individually, they're about 11 bucks. This is like 0.6 of an ounce, and you can take whatever grit, you know, progression you wish. Just a thin metal sheet with the diamond particles embedded, backed up by plastic to keep, you know, it's a nice lightweight material, but it gives you a little more to hold on to. There are some inherent risks to sharpening big things with a stone this small. I personally would prefer this unit right here, the Diamond Mini Sharp Keyring Sharpener. These are about 14 bucks a piece. Same grit progressions, in fact, same stone size as well, just with the fold-out cover that can act as a bit of a handle. I appreciate that, and even with the keyring here, they're like 0.9 ounces. So you can certainly take that off if you want. Ultimate ultralight fashion, though, would be even smaller versions right here. Check those out. I mean, weighs next to nothing. Next question's from Mike Arvig. Hey, DCA and Thomas. Thanks for all the hard work putting these videos together. You do the putting together over there.
Yeah.
Well, I put together a list of questions. So yeah, anyway. I appreciate all the information and insights. Lately, I've had some people tell me there's some issues with Elmax steel, and I've been told knife makers are moving away from it. Is there any truth to this? Should I avoid knives with Elmax? Thanks for your help. Well, short answer is no, there's no reason to be concerned about a knife with Elmax in it. The reason I think we've seen maybe it being moved away from a bit is kind of a supply chain thing. It's honestly gotten more expensive compared to other grades of steel that give you similar performance, pushing it up to kind of like the next tier up of super steels in some cases. So that's literally just an economics issue in this case more than anything else. I would have no hesitation at all carrying an Elmax steel blade. In fact, this Feldknieven R2, that little tiny beast of a pocket survival knife right there. Not quite a pocket knife, doesn't have a pocket sheath, but I love a good Feldknieven, and that's a good knife right there. Elmax and all. Now we come to our final question of the day, which is of course our most serious question of the day, which today comes from Captain Zombie 1. DCA, you often talk about holding a knife in a gorilla grip. I was wondering what kind of knife a gorilla would use. Also, could a gorilla hold a knife in a human grip? Well, a gorilla grip, if you're unfamiliar, is, pull the Feldknieven back up, just the meaty, ham-fisted, it's another animal, ham, gorilla, whatever. But it's just like that meaty, full grip. You put your thumb up here, that would be a saber grip. But yes, to answer your question, a gorilla would use this right here, the Woods Monkey banana peel made by LT Wright. And yes, I know gorillas don't in the wild eat bananas, but that's good. That means they won't be tempted to eat their knife, now wouldn't it?
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Human grip? I don't know. What would a human grip be? This is a family show. We got to be careful with that.
I'm thinking how we hold teacups.
Pinkies out?
Yes.
It'd be funny to see a gorilla with like pinkies out eating some food.
We're going to get links to that now.
Fire up the AI. Let's do it. That's all we've got for today, folks. Thanks for your questions. They keep this series going. If you folks have some questions you would like considered for a future episode, like I mentioned at the beginning, throw them in the comments section below. And if you want to get your hands on any of these things you saw here, check out the links in the description to take you to KnifeCenter.com. Don't forget, of course, about our Knife Rewards program, because when you're picking one of these knives up, you'll get to earn some free money to spend on a future one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, and that's Thomas behind the camera, the I and team right over there. We're signing off. See you next time.